Howdy, and welcome to episode 39 of T-Shirts and Shawls. I'm Karen, and today is Thursday, October 5th, 2017. And I'm just going to break the news right off the bat, and then I'll talk more about it at the end of the episode. We had to say goodbye to Sam over the past 2 weeks. So I will give more details about that at the end. But I did want to say, if you follow me especially on Instagram, you may have noticed that I seem to have kind of disappeared a bit for the past 2 weeks, and really haven't posted much. I haven't really even looked at Instagram that much. I've been checking Ravelry, the forums, like once a day. I haven't been super quick to respond to things, so if you have posted something and either I haven't responded, I hope I have responded to everything by now, but if I haven't responded or if I was not quick to respond, I do apologize for that. It's just been a really, really rough 2 weeks. But like I said, I will give you more specific details about that at the end. So the shirt that I'm wearing for today's episode is basically a cat sitting on top of a pile of books. So there are the rest of the books. And I really liked this shirt, cats and books obviously, but on some of the spines of the books you can see some of the titles. So the one the cat is on actually says Avalon. That by itself just kind of sold me. I was like, wow, that's really cool. One of them is fairy tales. There's Snow White down at the bottom. At the very, very bottom, you can't really see, it's Lord of the Rings. There's a mythology one. I mean, there are other types of things, but they had several things that kind of fit with my interests as far as reading. So this is a shirt that I got probably about a month ago, maybe a little bit longer, but pretty new shirt. So really happy to have it as part of my wardrobe and to share with you guys. Even though it doesn't have, and sorry for that wobble, Wally just attacked the tripod. It feels good to have, something that has two of my three main interests. Excuse me, I'm going to get Wally. I had no idea the tripod was so tempting, I guess, as far as something to play with. Anyway, so two of my three main interests, cats, books, doesn't have anything about knitting, but at least I got the cats and the books. I probably shouldn't show this off in the shawl section because it's not technically finished yet. If you can't tell, it has not yet been blocked, and there are still the ends to weave in. I tucked in that end there, but I'm really happy to have it done, almost done. So I did want to share it and give it the shawl spot in this episode. So this is the one I had been working on for the third quarter knit along for the podcast. So this is Wicked. The designer is Nim Teasdale. So you can see kind of the progression of the design there. And it does have beads. So kind of see the beads in there. I think I mentioned this before. They are triangular beads and have a black kind of center and then clear for the rest of the beads. And so they were fun to use and I felt like they fit really well with this shawl. The yarn, sorry again about the tripod, the yarn is from Panorama Fiber, and it is one of her gradient skeins. So it was really, really fun to watch the colors. And I wanted to use as much of the yarn as possible, especially so I could get to the black at the end, because I really felt that with the name of the shawl being Wicked, that it really needed the black. And where did I put that? It's over here. Hang on just a sec. So I did a couple of extra repeats. I think in the beginning I did an extra repeat of this. That's one thing about this shawl design. It's really versatile for how many repeats you want to do. And then I did an extra repeat at the end. And I should have been weighing my yarn. That's what I usually do. I have a scale that I weigh the yarn to see how much, it takes to knit 2 rows. and whether or not I can continue. But I didn't do that. I just decided to live on the edge, and boy did I live on the edge. That is how much yarn I had left over. So I didn't actually measure this, but maybe it's probably between 1 and 2 yards left over, if even that. Maybe I'm overestimating how much I have left. So that is all the yarn I had left. So I did a good job of using up as much yarn as possible, and also not worrying too much at the end whether or not I was going to have enough yarn. I felt worst case scenario, since it is black at the end, that potentially I could have something else, another yarn in black to finish it off. But fortunately I didn't have to resort to that. So it does still need to be blocked. That's why it's kind of all bunched up a little bit, and the ends need to be woven in. But there is another shawl, and I technically, except for the blocking, I did finish it before the end of the 3rd quarter. So as long as blocking doesn't have to count, which since I'm the person who runs the the knit along, I decided blocking doesn't count. It's just if you get finished knitting or crocheting it by the date, then I technically finished within the quarter. The past 2 quarters, I finished those shawls right after the quarter. So it also feels nice. I haven't posted in the FO thread yet since I haven't blocked it, but technically I did finish it in time for the quarter. So anyway, it was a fun knit, very well written pattern. Even though I've seen a lot of Nim Teasdale's patterns and I really love them, I think this was the first one that I've actually knit. So definitely we'll be doing more of her patterns in the future. So I have to admit that I really haven't done a whole lot of knitting the past 2 weeks. It just, there have been some days that have just been a little harder to get through than others, and so I probably did a fair amount of knitting, but for me, I feel like I didn't do a whole lot of knitting. Obviously, I finished the Wicked shawl, so I did that. Here is that hand spun, what it is meant to be is a cowl, but like I've mentioned in the past, I did a horrible job on this hand spun. I over twisted it, so it feels very, very stiff. But I have been making more progress on it. This is all of the yarn that I have left, so I am nearing the end. I've mentioned before that I think this is going to become kind of a small basket or something like that. I think what I've decided to do is I don't mind it being kind of a shallower basket. So I think what I'm actually going to do is when I'm done, is fold it over so that the inside and the outside of the basket show the actual stitches rather than the back side, which is not quite as pretty. That way I don't have to line it, but it also will give it a little more, I guess, heft to be able to stand up. And then I will put either a wood or leather or something at the bottom to grade the bottom of the basket. So this is pretty much, the only time I've been working on this is at Luke's swim lessons, which are on Wednesday evenings, so I get a little bit of time each week to work on that. But I think probably, well, maybe at least another month of swim lessons before I finish it. But that is making some progress, and I do actually now have a very specific plan for what to do with it. So that is one project. The other project I'm working on is my perpetual sock knitting. So I showed you last time that I had finished the first sock, and I had just barely started the second sock when I recorded the previous episode. So I'm not super far along, but I am at least a little further along on the second sock. Mostly, I mean, sock knitting is kind of what I grab whenever I'm going somewhere and need a project that travels with me. It's also the project that I work on usually at my knitting group. And the past 2 weeks, for various reasons, I have not been at my knitting group, so I've kind of lost out on some of that time. I did, however, go to my knitting guild. So my knitting guild, here's a little info card about it, is the Arlington Hand Knitters Guild. You do not have to live in Arlington or be a resident of Arlington to go. That's just where we meet, which is why it's called that. So this is a guild that we meet once a month, the fourth Tuesday of the month from September through November. Then in December we have a banquet, and then we meet again January through April, and then in May we have a banquet, and then over the summer there are less formal types of meetings, because this is a guild, so it actually has like a business meeting as part of the meeting. Anyway, so we had our first meeting, and Wally wants to come on this side of the camera now. We had our first meeting last week. Or was it the week before? It was either last week or the week before. Whichever the fourth Tuesday of September was, because it was last week. So we had our first meeting of kind of this year of the guild, and so I did get some time to work on the sock at that meeting. And the other thing that we talked about at the Knitting Guild meeting is that we usually have like a charity project, and we are still doing like hats and mittens and scarves for one of our kind of ongoing charity projects. But we're also focusing this year on knitted knockers, which I mentioned. I actually bought yarn for knitted knockers. I checked my Ravelry account. I bought it back in April, which I feel kind of bad about. I didn't realize I've had it for that long. Way back in April in one of those episodes, I mentioned knitted knockers. But basically, if you don't know about it, it is an organization that provides hand knit breast prosthesis. It's a hard word to say. For women who have had to have a breast or both removed because of breast cancer. So it instead of the really heavy, hot silicone prosthesis that the women normally have to use, these are typically made out of cotton and are stuffed with polyfill, and so they're a lot lighter. They don't leave people as sweaty. It's not as uncomfortable as the regular ones are. Anyway, so our kind of goal in our guild for the year is to have at least 50 pairs, so 100 knitted knockers made for the organization. So I finally pulled out my yarn that I'd already picked up for some knitted knockers, and I started on some. And I guess technically I should put this in what I finished, but this is going to be an ongoing project. I'm going to keep working on them. So I have one pair finished. So this is the back side. Leave it open so they can add the stuffing, and then basically it will form the shape. And I'm using the pattern that starts at the back and works to the front. I think when the patterns originally came out, it went the other way around, started at the front and went to the back. But our program for our guild meeting was actually how to do the back to front version. So I used all the tips that we got at the Knitting Guild meeting, and I've been able to complete one pair. So I have enough yarn that I definitely can complete another pair with the yarn I have, maybe even, because I have 2 skeins of the yarn. I still have that much left of the first skein. So I'll probably be able to make 2 more pairs out of what I have. And then I will get more yarn in some different colors. I think darker skin tone colors have been requested, so I think I'll definitely make at least some in the darker colors. But one of the I'm happy to do it. It is definitely a good thing to do for the charity organization, for the women who need these. But man, I do not like knitting with cotton yarn. I know that. That's why I usually don't knit with cotton. I just, for me, don't find it very enjoyable. It feels too, and not too slick on the needles, like I'm worried that the stitches are gonna fall off, but it just doesn't feel as right to me, and it feels very stiff. I mean, cotton doesn't have elasticity, so it feels, I don't know, I don't enjoy knitting with it. But this is for a good cause, and so I definitely Definitely plan to continue doing it, and it's not horrible, but it's not my chosen type of yarn that I want to use. But anyway, that is definitely an ongoing project that I have started that I will continue, seeing how many pairs I can make. Then my other project that I've been focused on, again, this probably should just be in what I'm designing, but I'll keep it in what I'm knitting. This is the redo, so it's not upside down, of the Dame Nature shawl. And I finally, I guess not quite a week ago, I decided, you know what, I really need to kind of push myself on this, because if I just let it sit in the bag and think, oh, well, it takes so long to do one row now, I'm never going to get it done. And so this has kind of become my focus, what I want to kind of push myself to work through. And since I've done that, I've actually knit, I think I was at the, basically this is a pie shawl, so after a certain number of rows you rapidly increase, so you're doubling your stitches. So I think I was right around where I doubled these stitches, and so I've gotten a pretty fair amount done since then. This is beaded, so maybe you can see some of the beads in there. That is upside down because when you wear it, it will be right side up, so that way these little flowers, because they are meant to be flowers, will be right side up when you wear it rather than upside down like it was when I knit it the first time. Anyway, so I still have one repeat plus I think 6 more rows of the repeat that I'm on for this section, and then I do that doubling thing. So I think right now I have 200 stitches on the needle, and then I'll have 400. Woo! Lace weight yarn, and then I don't know how many rows are in that section, and then there's a border section. So I'm probably not even technically at the halfway point, especially if I'm gonna have that rapid increase to 400 stitches. But I am making progress. Like, I feel like it's not just something that's sitting in my knitting bag. I feel like I am actually working on it and making progress. So that does feel good to be able to say that and to work on it. And it probably helps that, at least as of right now, the other projects that I have going are kind of simpler projects. So this is kind of my main project. I'm not counting the Beauty and the Beast shawl because that one seems to be in hibernation. Again, nothing wrong with the pattern, nothing wrong with the yarn. Just hasn't been a project that's really been calling to me, and so I haven't been working on it. So it is kind of officially in hibernation. So this is my main project, but I do have another project that I plan to cast on because we have the 4th quarter knit along that is starting. So let me go grab the yarn because I didn't bring it out here with me. So let me go grab the yarn that I plan to use with it, and then I will come back and talk about that project and about the 4th quarter knit along. For the 4th quarter knit along or crochet along, we had some really fantastic nominations. Thank you guys so much for your nominations. And then we had the vote, and the winning theme is any shawl inspired by a literary character or novel, and that does not include comic books. We actually made a distinction in the voting. So pretty much any work of literature, any novel, any shawl that is inspired by that is good. So there is a bundle in the Ravelry group for the podcast that has suggestions, and there are tons of patterns out there that fit this theme, and there are a lot of really great patterns in the bundle. So thank you guys who have added patterns to the bundle. It's awesome to see all of those suggestions. So definitely go check that out if you haven't already. There's some great ideas in there. So part of me, I saw a lot of Jane Austen stuff in there, and a big part of me wants to do something that is related to Jane Austen. But there was something, part of the conversation in the Ravelry group that made me think, is there a pattern that is out there that would meet all of the requirements for all of the nominations? And so I looked through the nominations. Uses a leaf pattern or an autumn theme, is inspired by a literary character or novel, has lace work or uses lace weight yarn, is inspired by the works of Tolkien, which technically fits also into the literary category, and uses worsted weight or thicker yarn. Well, the nice thing is the has lace work or uses lace weight, so as long as it's a worsted weight shawl that uses lace work, that doesn't contradict it. So I'm like, okay, so I've got to find something that's Tolkien based, that has that uses worsted weight yarn, that has lace stitch patterns as well as a leaf pattern. Okay, let's see what the Ravelry database gives us. And sure enough, there were a couple of options that would meet all of that, but there was one in particular that I really, really liked. And the pattern is called His Golden Lair, and the designer is Courtney Robinson. And here, we'll see how the glare does on this. There is a close-up of the shawl. So you can see it has lace work. There is the leaf kind of stitch pattern. The designer means for it to be, oops, I clicked on it, so it went away. The designer means for it to represent dragon scales, but technically that is a leaf stitch pattern. It is made out of worsted weight yarn, and it's a shawl. So it fits all of the nominations, and I just thought that was really cool to find something that actually meets, no matter which of the elements was picked for the theme. That's a shawl that could be done. So it calls for, like I said, worsted weight, and it says that it needs 380 to 400 yards, which typically is about 2 skeins of worsted weight yarn. And I looked through my worsted weight stash, and I realized I buy worsted weight in one of 2 ways. One skein, because I think I can at least make a hat out of it, or a sweater quantity. And I have no in between, so it is either 1 skein or a sweater quantity. And I didn't want to break up my sweater quantities to make this, because then it wouldn't be a sweater quantity anymore. So I decided, well, I can dye some myself. I've got my worsted weight, my Lancelot base, and it is called His Golden Lair, so kind of a goldeny color. I've got that. I've got a golden brown color. And so I dyed, and this just came off the drying rack, so it's not like nicely skeined up. Anyway, so this is my Evane colorway, which is a nice golden brown. And I went ahead, and even though I only need 2 skeins, I did dye 4 skeins. So there will be 2 more skeins of this that will go in the online shop as soon as I have a chance to get it finished and labeled. So if you're interested in also doing this shawl or even something else with the yarn, I will have 2 more skeins of this available, and I will try to get that up in the shop pretty soon. Anyway, so that is my plan for this quarter's knit along. I think especially since it's a worsted weight shawl that it should knit up pretty quickly. There's actually someone else in the group who is working on the same pattern, and she is already getting very close to the end of the shawl. So I think it should work out pretty quickly. Yes, it will take a little bit of time away from the green shawl that I'm knitting, but I don't think it will be quite as involved as another, lace weight or fingering weight shawl. So I'll still be able to participate in this quarter's knit along and continue on in that desire to get that green shawl finished as well. So that is what I'm going to be doing. Several of you have already posted in the Ravelry group your cast-ons for the shawls that you guys are doing, and I'm really looking forward to seeing the progress that's being made. So you've got from now until the end of the quarter, since it's the 4th quarter, it's the end of the year, to finish this shawl. So I hope that you will join us, and I'm not sure yet what the prizes are going to be. I will make it something related to the literary theme. So probably some yarn, maybe some stitch markers, I don't know. I haven't found it yet, but when I do, I will let you guys know what the prize or prizes are. This past quarter, I had 3 prizes. Basically, it's because I couldn't pick, I couldn't narrow that down. I wanted to use all 3. So I don't know yet if it's going to be 1 prize for this quarter or if there will be more than 1 prize. We'll just kind of see what I find out there. So I hope you will join us. Go over to the Ravelry group. I will link to it in the show notes and share what you decided to make. I do have a little bit of stashing. So last time, I think it was last time, I showed you 2 skeins of mustache yarn that I got, and maybe it was the time before. So basically, she had some fall colorways that she, being Stacy, the dyer behind Mustache, had some fall colorways that she listed on her website, and there were also some other colors that were up there. And there was one fall colorway that I really liked, but either was sold out or she hadn't posted more of it quite yet. But there were a couple of other colorways that I liked that I got, and that's what I showed you guys. Whichever time it was that I got those last 2. But Stacy had something really neat on her website that if something is sold out, you can ask to be notified when it's back in stock. So I wanted to kind of see how that worked, as someone who also has an online yarn shop, trying to see if that feature is something that I might want to add to my shop. So wanted to kind of see from the customer point of view what that was like. And sure enough, last week I got a little email that said, hey, this yarn is back in stock. And I said, I really don't need another skein of self-striping yarn, but why not? It's really pretty. I like it. So I went over to the shop. It was still available, and I clicked buy, and it got here 2 days ago. So this is, what is the colorway? Pumpkin Spice Latte. So you can see very, very fall colors in there. And then on her label, she's got the picture of what it looks like knit up. So I think that will be fun. I probably will not finish it this fall, so maybe it'll be socks for next fall. Who knows? But it'll go into my stash, and someday will become socks. But that's really pretty, and that is what I've added to my stash. So along with not knitting quite as much over the past 2 weeks, I haven't really been doing as much dyeing. I thought that I would, do some experimentation for a Christmas self-striping colorway, and I've got some ideas for that. I just haven't actually done it. So the dye pots were kind of, cold, I guess, for a few days, but I'm finally kind of getting back into it and doing more dyeing. So I should be able to have maybe a teaser, maybe not promising, but maybe a teaser of the Christmas colorway next time. But anyway, I do have the Halloween colorway, so show you guys that again. The Halloween colorway is still available. Right now it is technically in pre-order status because I don't have any ready to ship, but it is, the next batch is on the drying rack. It went on the drying rack yesterday, so it should be dry now, and one of my goals for today is to reskein that, and that will mean 6, well actually one of them has already been sold. So 5 skeins that will go in the shop ready to ship either later today or tomorrow, but the entry is already there if you want to pre-order and make sure that you get one of those skeins in this batch. Then you can go ahead and do that. So Halloween colorway is still available, will still be available up through Halloween. So make sure to get that if you want it. Then I have the Sir Brian, the colorway for the Hemophilia Foundation fundraiser. The walk is October 22nd, and we need to have the funds turned in a few days before that. So we're actually down to probably a little over 2 weeks left in this fundraiser. So if you have not yet bought that, it includes a pattern for fingerless mitts in 4 sizes, and then the yarn, which I don't have any to show you right now, but it's sky blue with silver flecks. So it's just got little bits of a silvery gray that'll show up like a stitch here and there. And so that is going toward the DFW chapter of the Hemophilia Foundation. The kit is $29.50, including the pattern and yarn, and $20 of that goes directly to the Hemophilia Foundation. If you are local, you can get kits through the Knitting Fairy yarn shop, or if you want, you can get them online on my website, and I will include that link in the show notes. Again, we will only be doing that until probably about October 20th. Will be the last day to order a kit, so that way we can turn in the donations that we've received so far. I need to keep better track, but I think we've sold it's 20-something kits that we've sold so far. So thank you very much for those of you who have bought one already. If you've bought one online, the pattern itself is not up on Ravelry yet. So a couple of you have bought them online and you still need the pattern. I will make sure that it gets to you soon. But anyway, so I'm really happy to be able to donate the money for a really good cause. And thank you to those of you who've already bought kits, and it's not too late, depending on when you're watching this. If you're watching this when it airs, if you are still interested in a kit, they are still available. Let's see, the other thing I'm working on is Yarn Club stuff. For the next Yarn Club, I did do some test skeins for colorways, and it's going to be a 4-month club, and I have 4 colors that I'm pretty happy with. There's one that I think I might adjust just a little bit, but I need to sit back down with them and really look at all 4, because I want to kind of make sure that the 4 of them kind of look good together, because this is a club where you guys are going to get to choose your base. So if you want to have like all Camelot, so every shipment that you get, the colors are on Camelot. And then maybe you might want to use the 4 colors in one project. So I'd like to try to get the 4 colors to be something that could go together. So I still need to just kind of sit down and look at them and see if that will actually work. See if there are any adjustments that I might want to make. But I'm getting really solid on the plans for that yarn club. So I expect to open up the club probably the end of October, beginning of November, and I need to getting the dates set up is something else that I need to work on. So I will be working on that. Then the kind of last big thing that I'm working on, and this is something that my plan is to send a message out to my email list today, if not today, then tomorrow, about this, so that you guys can find out about it if you're on my mailing list. If you're not, you can sign up on my mailing list. But basically, I've been thinking a lot, especially after the episode I did about the title. I don't remember the episode number, but the title is I Got It on Etsy. And how I talked about, especially small indie businesses, having constant sales, and that being a business model that I don't feel is really great for a handcrafted business. But at the same time, I do think that a big chunk of my business comes from return customers, people who have found my yarn and really like it and buy more. And I'm the same way. I mean, just on what I'm stashing. How much lately mustache yarn have I bought? Yeah. So anyway, and without that kind of core group of customers, I would constantly be having to try to find new customers and drawing people in. And although that is a goal too, kind of serving those people who have found me and who keep coming back, that's really what you guys are what has allowed me to continue doing this and to make the business become successful. So first of all, thank you guys so very much. I really, really super appreciate you. So, what can I do this isn't quite the word that I'm looking for, but I can't quite think of the exact right word, but to reward you guys for your loyalty. And so I've been looking at, basically, maybe this is why I'm using these words, loyalty reward programs. So things where for every purchase that you make, you earn points, that you can use toward, toward a, I guess, a perk for future purchases. So my website for Roundtable Yarns is through something called Shopify, which if you are looking to leave Etsy or to set up a handcrafted shop somewhere else, Shopify is a really, really great a great system, especially because there are lots of apps that you can get to add on and that do a lot of different things. So I looked at several of the loyalty program apps. There was one that a couple of other people have recommended, and then there was one that seems to be used quite frequently and has a lot of good reviews in the Shopify App Store. So I did trial versions of both of those, and nothing went live on the site. I kept it turned off, but I did trial versions on the back end to see kind of which one I liked better. And after doing that, I'm pretty sure I know which one that I like. I'm pretty sure. I'm about to launch this, so I am sure. So I know which one that I want to go with. I just need to go in and basically flip the switch and turn it on. And what I did is I went back through all of the orders that have been placed on the website since it opened. I think I left Etsy, it looks like April of last year-ish, maybe? Has it been that long? Maybe a little later. But anyway, all the orders that came through the website. I did not go back to Etsy. Just all the orders that came through the website. And I gave everybody points for those orders. For people who have had custom orders that I billed through PayPal, I also went back about the past year and put points in for that. And for people who have joined the Yarn Club, I've had 3 clubs so far. I gave those people points. In order to give you points, you had to have at least made one purchase on the website already. So there are a few people who, like people who are in the yarn clubs who've never made a purchase from the actual website. So I wasn't able to give those people points yet. But if you are one of those people and you make an order on the website and set up an account, then I've got a little spreadsheet that tells me which people still need points, and I will add those points for you. Anyway, so some of you guys already have points that have added up. So this will be just for orders placed on the website, not for orders anywhere else. Potentially, I can use Shopify point of sale and when I go like to DFW Fiberfest and Houston Fiberfest. So if I'm able to do that, then most likely points would be added for those purchases. But for right now, I have no way of tracking the purchases that have been made in past fiber shows. So online purchases, I went ahead and added points, but fiber show purchases, I couldn't because I couldn't track those. Anyway, all that to say, so there is a loyalty rewards program that I'm about to launch for Roundtable Yarns. I will email everybody to let you guys know about it and some more specific details. You can use points, you can redeem points for free shipping and for certain dollars off. I think I have it set up for 5, 10, 20, and I think because there were a few people that have a lot of points, and so I even have a $40 off point value. So you can earn points and then you can redeem points. It'll basically give you a coupon code to use for a future order. So we'll test it out, see how it works. It does cost some money on my end to do this app. There is a monthly fee to do that, so hopefully it is something that you guys like. I'll probably definitely use it for about 6 months and then reevaluate at the end of 6 months to see if it's working, see if it's, just to be honest, see if it is worth the expense on my end. And hopefully you guys will have fun earning the points. I'm calling them quest points to get a little bit thematic in there. But so that's what I've been working on, and I will send out that email to the mailing list very soon. So I did have a little bit to say in what I'm reading and watching, but I think I'm just going to save that for next time. I kind of feel like I got a little bit rambly and not sticking, to to a main point in the last segment. So I'm thinking that I would just continue doing the rambly and the reading and watching, and I'm thinking my brain is still not quite settled. So I thought I would go ahead and move on to the last sad segment about Sam. So 2 weeks ago, when I recorded this podcast, I gave you guys a good report. Sam had just gotten back from the eye doctor, and basically things were looking really great. And then quite literally overnight, things changed. And when I say quite literally, I mean Thursday night, the Thursday that I recorded the last episode, I woke up in the middle of the night to hear Sam throwing up. And basically things just started going downhill from there. I don't want to go into all the details about what was wrong with him, but basically we got results of some blood work done that he had earlier in the week, some blood drawn, plus he had developed another upper respiratory infection, and he stopped eating, and it was just a whole host of issues. And any one of the things that was kind of going on with him was probably treatable. I think everything that was wrong with him was technically treatable, but it was just all of a sudden so many issues piling on all at once. And so the plan was, and we were still in diagnostic stage for some things. The plan was, to treat this most immediate concern. And then once that was addressed, and then we were going to treat this, and then investigate this and see how to treat that. So that was Thursday night, Friday morning. And by Sunday, he was, even though we had started treating kind of the most immediate concern, he really wasn't doing it very much better. He had been spending the days hiding under Luke's bed, which is not a place that he normally goes, and he hadn't been eating. So I took him to the emergency, since it was Sunday, the emergency 24-hour vet, and again, kind of let's start treating the most immediate concerns, which was going to start with a hospitalization because he hadn't been eating. And then once that was fixed, like I said, try to fix the next thing and the next thing and the next thing. And honestly, it just felt like we've already put Sam through a lot, especially with the eye surgery, and it just seemed like it wasn't going to end. It was just going to be one thing after another after another. My husband had gone out of town that morning, so I was at the vet by myself, well, with Luke, but without my husband. We had talked about it a little bit before he left, and then I was able to get him on the phone. And I really, really didn't know which way to go. Do we go ahead and hospitalize him and try to treat him? Or do we just say, he's been through so much, there's so much that he's going to have to go through, it would be kinder just to say goodbye. And so I decided that we had to make a choice that day and commit to one or the other, because it didn't seem fair to start treating him and then say that's it. So I decided, again, with my husband on the phone, that saying goodbye at that point was the best choice for him, instead of putting him through yet more treatments. Like I said, I don't really want to go into lots of details, but I will say that was an extremely tough decision. And that's part of what I've been going through since then. With Merlin and Guinevere, the choice to put them to sleep seemed, I don't want to say easier, but I guess more obvious. Merlin had suffered heart failure, and he was not breathing on his own. He was actually getting oxygen. Guinevere had a stroke. She was not able to walk more than a few steps. She wasn't eating. Her head was drooping, and she most likely was blind. It was pretty obvious that that was the end of life for them. With Sam, like I said, everything individually was technically, as far as we knew at that point, treatable. There was still some GI issue that we were needing to investigate, that we didn't really know for sure about that. But technically everything was treatable. It was just so much all at one time. And like I said, it was kind of like an onion. Like, we'd get one layer. If we move forward, we would get one layer fixed and then have to do the next thing, and then the next thing, and then the next thing. But technically, we could have treated him. So feelings of grief were compounded by that guilt and the question of, did we make the right choice? And although, like I said, I talked to my husband a lot of it because I was the one there dealing with it. Did I make the right choice? Or did I make a mistake? Should we have hospitalized him and treated him? So along with the grief, I also felt those feelings of guilt. And then additional feelings of guilt of, well, why did we put him through all of the stuff like especially the eye surgery, if we were just going to end things as soon as the eye was declared better? Because, man, 4 times a day I had to give him medicines, 1 eye drop and 2 different ointments, 4 times a day. And we did that for over a month. So why put him through all of that only to now say that was it? So I've been feeling lots and lots of guilt tied into those feelings of grief. And so I actually didn't say anything. I did let a few close friends know, but I didn't say anything about it on Facebook or on Instagram or on Ravelry or any place, just because I wasn't ready to start hearing other people's very well-meant comments, because I kind of still had that question of, did I make the right choice? And I know in my head that it was the right choice. It seemed like it was going to be never ending, the treatments that we were going to have to put him through, and he was 15. So, I mean, it's not like, he was, a year old, and had, possibly a lot of life ahead of him. Maybe he still had more years in him, but it's hard to tell. So I know in my head that it was the right choice, but my heart doesn't feel that quite yet. It's getting there, but, a lot better than it was that first week. But it's still not there yet. So finally this week, I think it was on Tuesday, I posted on Facebook, on my personal page, and then also on Instagram, about it. And I want to say this, and I don't want it to be rude, but a lot of people, their comments were, you made the right choice. And I know people mean it in a very good way. They mean it to be comforting. It's, it's a sentiment that is meant to be comforting. But to be honest, and this is why I didn't post for a while, every time someone says that, it starts the feelings of doubt in me again. Because here's what happens. I read that comment. You made the right choice. It was hard, but you made the right choice. And my head starts going, did I? Did I really make the right choice? Was it the right choice? Could I have done something else? How do you, and I don't remember which people have even said it. I haven't put that in my memory of which specific people said the comments. How do you know that it made the right choice? You don't know any of the details about what was going on. You don't know what we could have done, and what more, how much longer, we could have given him. How do you know that I made the right choice? And it kind of starts that whole guilt process cycle all over again. So I just want to make one request. And again, I know this comes from a good place. I know people do not mean anything by this. But if you're going to comment on this video on YouTube, or if you're going to comment in the Ravelry group, please don't say the words, you made the right choice. Again, I love everybody who has said that. I'm not mad at people for saying that, but just because in my head it starts all those questions up again, even though I know that's not what is intended at all. The opposite is intended, but that's what it does to me. So just that phrase, you made the right choice. Please, I just ask, please don't say that. Any other comments you want to make, that's fine. Don't tell me they made the wrong choice. I mean, I guess that comment would not be great, would not be good either. But anything else you want to say is fine. But just that particular phrase, that just starts up my thoughts again. Enough about the end. I want to talk about how Sam came into our life. So I pulled out some pictures, and I actually do have these in a little photo album, because and apparently I need to scan them because they're not on my computer. So if something happened, I wouldn't have these. So kind of another little project I need to do. Anyway, so this was back in, so we got Sam in 2002, I believe. In fact, I was looking at the pictures, and on the back of the pictures, it actually printed the date of when we did this. So September 28th, 2002. So pretty much 15 years ago. We were living in College Station, and one of my friends called me and said, "Hey, I found 3 kittens in my garage." And possibly she had a small window in her garage that she kept open, and so possibly the mother cat had gotten into the garage that way. And probably the mother cat was still coming back. But we couldn't be sure, and so we decided that we would help the kittens. We would take them to the vet to get them checked out, and then try to find homes for them. So this is a little picture album. This is the cover that I put on there. These are the 3 kittens. So all gray. One of them had, if you can kind of see, had white feet. But 2 solid gray ones and 1 with the white feet. The one with the white feet was a girl, and then the solid gray, 1 boy, 1 girl. So the boy is the one who ended up being Sam. And I'm pretty sure this one is Sam. I'm pretty sure that's the girl, and this one is Sam. But honestly, it's kind of hard to tell when they're still kittens. But I do have this picture individually, and gosh, this is all crinkly. I do have this picture of one of the kittens, and I'm pretty sure this one is Sam. Maybe it's the girl, but yeah. So little bitty kitten. So we brought them into my friend's bathroom, and kind of started taking care of them. Took them to the vet, and at that point they were probably around 5 weeks old, 5 to 6 weeks old, and the boy, the one who eventually became Sam, he was not happy at all to be removed from where he was, to be examined by the vet, and he was hissing and fighting and clawing and just completely unhappy, to the point where he actually earned the nickname Demon Spawn. So his very first name was Demon Spawn, and you know, they got their health seemed to be just fine, and so they were cleared to kind of be taken back home. They got some, I think they got vaccines. Maybe we were supposed to take them back later when they were older. But anyway, so for a couple of weeks we kept them in Kendra's, in my friend's bathroom. And I spent a lot of time at her house playing with the kittens, getting them used to humans. And I think they definitely got used to humans, because the next time that we brought them to the vet, a couple of weeks later, Sam was completely, again, not named Sam quite yet. So Demon Spawn was a completely different cat. He apparently learned the value of, hey, these people bring us food and they pet us, and that feels really nice and it's warm. So I think he calmed down quite a lot, to the point where the vet tech actually did not believe us that it was the same cat, because Demon Spawn had made a big impression. So he actually did not believe it was the same cat, but it was. So he really kind of learned pretty quickly that that being taken care of by humans was great. So 3 kittens. At that point we had Merlin, and we'd been thinking about getting a second cat so that Merlin wasn't alone. And we at first picked one of the female kittens, the one that was solid gray, not the one with the white paws. So we took her home and introduced her to Merlin. And this was the point where the Lord of the Rings movies were coming out. I don't remember if all 3 movies were out or if it was just the first and second, but I was also reading the books. So Lord of the Rings was kind of like the big thing. My husband was also reading them. So we decided to name the girl kitten Arwen. Well, Merlin and Arwen did not get along with each other. And to the point where it was causing a lot of stress between the 2 cats, but also Arwen, the kitten, she didn't seem to like me or Jarrett very much. And we thought, you know what, I could deal with cats that don't get along with each other, that like would at least just coexist. But if she doesn't really like us very much, that doesn't seem like a very good life for her, or for us, but definitely not for her. So we decided we would take her back because my friend still had the other 2 kittens, and we would try the male kitten, which ended up being Sam. And I think we figured out the issue with Arwen, who was renamed Lessa, so one of the characters from the Dragon Riders of Pern books. So Arwen became Lessa, and I think what had really happened is Lessa had attached herself to my friend, the one whose bathroom she was staying in, because she seemed so happy to be back, and so my friend ended up keeping her. Wow, that's the part that kind of makes me tear up this time. My friend ended up keeping her, and Lessa is still doing well. My friend still has her. Okay, so we took the male kitten, and trying to think of names, we still wanted to use something from Lord of the Rings. And my feeling, and I know I'm not completely alone in this, but my feeling is that the true hero of Lord of the Rings is Samwise Gamgee. Without Sam being loyal and steadfast, and always there by Frodo's side, and even when things got really tough, if it weren't for Sam, the quest with the ring would have failed. Because even in the end, Frodo wasn't ready to throw the ring into the fires. So if it weren't for Sam, the quest would have failed. So for Sam, I feel he is the true hero. He is the one who I think really sacrificed. He easily could have stayed home and had a good life. But he really made that sacrifice and became the hero. So Sam, the cat's name, his official name is Samwise Gamgee. And I mean, he really fit that those characteristics. He was a cat that was loyal, who was always there by her side. He and Merlin were really, really good friends. Lots of pictures of the 2 of them snuggled up together. So it was a good name. And he was a really, really good cat. So we had him for right around 15 years. Anyway, so I think I need to stop talking about it, or else I will start crying again. On a good note, Wally and Eva are doing really well. So that has been good. That the loss of Sam has not left us, completely without a cat. And as we kind of thought when we were deciding to adopt Wally and Eva, it is a good thing that we went ahead and picked up 2, so that way we wouldn't have a cat all by itself, because I think cats, sometimes cats are solitary creatures, but in a lot of ways cats are social creatures and like having that companionship, so it's nice to see the 2 of them together. But it's hard to lose the third of our senior kitties, our longtime kitties. like I said, I'm doing better. I'm starting to, get back into Instagram and kind of interacting with people again. Really just felt like I needed a break for a while, but I'm getting back into things a little slowly, but it's getting there, and it's nice to have the two kittens to I guess cheer us up a bit. But it's still been a pretty difficult time. And that's just, it's been a pretty difficult 2 weeks just personally, but my gosh, it's been an awful 2 weeks out in the world, and I don't want to talk about any of it either. But that's also hard, when looking at the news and seeing what's going on, and so many people are struggling, which makes me think, and I'm sad because of my cat, puts things in perspective a bit. But it is, it is a personal sorrow, and any of you who have had a pet and lost a pet, I know that you understand. Anyway, enough rambling. I know this is taking up a huge chunk of the episode, and I don't like to have such negative, sad feelings, because I want to show you happy things with yarn and things that I'm making. So, but I did feel like I needed to have a little bit of memoriam, I guess, for Sam. So anyway, I'm going to stop rambling and turn off the camera and go edit this episode. Thank you so very much for watching this episode, especially if you watched all the way through. If you are watching on YouTube and you enjoyed the episode, if you could click the thumbs up, I really appreciate that. If you're watching on iTunes, if you could leave a review, that would be awesome. If you haven't yet subscribed to the podcast, make sure you hit the subscribe button, so that way you will make sure not to miss an episode. I really appreciate that you guys come join me for this hour or so every other Thursday. So thank you so much for taking time out of your day to listen to me talk about knitting, and today about Sam. And I will be back in 2 weeks for another episode. Make sure to come over to the Ravelry group, talk about anything you want from this episode. Join us in the quarterly knit along / crochet along. Crochet is also very welcome. And again, I'll see you guys in 2 weeks. Until then, happy knitting!